Welcome back. This is part two. So let's go ahead and open up Radiant again. When we left off, this is what we had. Radiant currently is not set up that well for you to map. You can actually use your mouse to move these windows around by clicking and dragging. Now also, later in this tutorial, I'm going to enable this overlay here. This will allow you to see what buttons I'm clicking, but for now, I'm going to turn that off. So, as I said earlier, you can drag all these windows around. Right now, it's in a 3 or technically a 4 window setup. You have the console right here. And this is going to show you everything that is done in the editor, all the actions that you've made. You'll be able to see all that stuff here. This is a texture window. This is your work window. This is where the grid is that you'll be working in. And then this is a 3D camera view. It's not really that organized right now. So let's change that. Let's go up to Edit, Preferences, and then go over here to the Interface Layout option. And on these 4 options here, select the third one and hit OK. We have to restart Radiant to make those changes take effect. So close Radiant. Here's the tricky part. When you reopen Radiant, typically it does not do it on the first try. So if you still have the 3 windows, not these, you need to go back and do it one more time. Restart Radiant, and then you should have these 4 windows. So this is the best way to edit maps or create maps, in my opinion. I'm going to show you now what each window does and how we can go about using Radiant. Let's show you the basics. This grid, you have 3 different perspectives. You have a top-down perspective, and you have side perspectives. You can even see the angle axes right here. Z, X, Z, Y. So, how do you move along the grid? It's actually very easy. So I'm going to enable the input camera. If you want to move around this grid, you hold right click and then you drag your mouse any direction you want. You can do that in every single grid. This is the 3D camera. And in order for you to use the 3D camera, you have to right click once. You don't have to hold it. And then you can move your mouse around. If you take a look over at the grids, you'll see the little blue guy with 2 antennas. That's basically your camera in 3D space. And the antennas are showing where your view is facing. To get out of the camera, you've got to remember you have to right click once. So to enter the camera, you have to put your mouse over here in this window, right click to enter it, look around, right click to get out of it. Now, let's actually, to explain this a little further, let's create an object and then we can fly around that object. Come over here to this top-down view. Now, what I want you to do is create a cube. And how you create a cube is simply holding down the left click button anywhere on the grid and dragging it. Let go of left click to create that object. You'll notice that as soon as you let go, it's highlighted in red, which means currently this object is selected. If you ever want to deselect an object, there's two ways that you can do this. You can simply hit the escape key, and then you could also hold shift and left click an object. You can do this in either the grids, so you can still select it, deselect it in a grid, or the 3D camera. I would recommend that you use the 3D camera to select something. So shift, left click to select it. You can hit escape to deselect it, or you can also shift and left click to deselect something. So let's make this square a little bit taller. Let's shift left click it to select it. Now remember, I told you this is a top-down view and this is a side view. So let's come down here to this grid and hover your mouse over the top of this selection, and then click and hold left click and drag up. Then let go and press escape to deselect it. Now let's go up to the 3D camera. Right click once. You can move your mouse around now and look at the square. You can fly around in the 3D camera using the arrow keys. Down arrow goes back, top arrow goes forward. So it'll take you a while to get used to it, but not long. It won't take that long for you to get used to it. So the left and right arrows act as a strafe. So strafe left, strafe right. So in combination, you can fly around the 3D cube. Now remember to exit the camera, right click. Another thing that you can do with these grids, as you start creating more objects, things are going to get a little difficult to see. And you might need to zoom in or zoom out to, get a better idea of what you're looking at. And to zoom, you use the mouse scroll wheel. Scroll in, scroll out. Very simple. You can do it on each grid. Now, I'm just going to show you something that we will be using all the time, and that's textures. And you have to pull up a texture window in order to select a texture you want to use. To open the texture window, it's T. Once you press T, this little window will pop up, and you can make it a little bit bigger for yourself. And there's a sidebar here that you want to bring out so you can read those categories. And that's what these are. These are categories, so if you click on one, they will show you what's inside that category. Common is what we're going to be using a lot, especially when you're blocking out your level. So you can use escape to close the window, or of course you can exit with the X up there. Now, you know what we're going to do? Now that I've shown you the basics on how to move around the editor, I want us to save our map. Let's go up here to File, Save As. And automatically, this should already be inside your Wolfenstein folder, inside the main folder, inside a Maps folder. Do not change this. Just keep it simple. Keep it right here. There are people who are experienced in mapping, and they have their own file structure, maybe a separate hard drive. If you're comfortable and know how to do that, or want to separate things in a specific order, go for it. But if you are following this tutorial because you're newer, just do what I'm doing. Just save the name as test, T-E-S-T. And that's it. In the next video, I'm going to cover us making our very first room. So 4 walls and a floor and a ceiling. And then after that, we'll texture it. And it's just going to get fun from here on out. So I'll see you in the next one.